Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. Most of the time, I come on and do my podcast, and sometimes I've had guests, sometimes it's just me, most of the times it's just me, and give guidance and support and strategies for ways that people can manage emotional eating and lose weight and just overall feel really good about themselves. But y'all must be tired of hearing from me. So I have decided to turn the microphone over to three of my clients and have them share kind of their journey, their experience. I do have to say, I can't really remember who posted in our Facebook group about the word journey and how they keep journey reminds them of The Bachelor and how that is constantly a thing that they talk about on The Bachelor of, oh, on this journey of finding a husband or a mate or whatever. So every time I use that word, I think, oh, yeah, I'm not a Bachelor fan anyway. But anyway, so I'm going to use that word, but I'm going to try to come up with a different word to use. But so I have three very, very special guests that I'll be introducing and that you will be meeting and you'll be hearing about their stories. I won't call it their journeys. But if you are listening on the podcast and you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook, please join us. Again, it's www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough and come and be a part of our community. We are always on Wednesdays. When I record the podcast, we are live in the group. So hello to all of my members who have joined us. Thank you so much always for joining. I really always appreciate it, your support and your encouragement and your listening to the podcast. So thank you so much for doing that. So we are going to jump right into the good stuff because I really want to give these ladies an opportunity to be able to share what they have experienced and what they've learned. And I think it's going to be really, really just insightful for people to hear kind of the transformations and the things that are happening in their lives. So I have today with us, I have Debbie Rooney from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I have Joyce Clark, who is from it's Arlington, right? I don't want to say Fort Worth, Arlington, Texas. Oh, and Miss Kim Hickson from Kim, officially in Tennessee. Are you in Chattanooga? Chattanooga. So Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I have, they're all over from all over here. And these three ladies, I have been honored and just privileged enough to work with them. Um, and so I wanted to bring them on and just have them share what they have kind of what they've experienced and what they've learned and just what they have been through as they have been a part of the Breakthrough Stop Emotional Overeating Bootcamp and the program and just let them share their experiences because I know y'all are tired of hearing from me. So they know firsthand all of the good stuff. So I'm going to start my first question. I'm going to let each one of you respond to this. So Debbie, I'm going to start with you. How did you find the Breakthrough Emotional Eating group? And where were you with your eating before you joined the group?
Well, I actually just saw some of the posts from some of the members, some of
Mhm,
their uh, planning
mhm,
sheets and some of
mhm,
their, daily assessment sheets, and I was curious about it.
mhm,
So I I don't know whether I came across one of the podcasts for also, or whether I just started looking
mhm,
and tried to figure out where the group was and
mhm.
managed to get.
Oh, oh. This is funny because we had this issue earlier today too. So I think she'll come back in just a moment. So
The right link.
there we go.
Okay, there she. Am I glitching out?
Oh yeah, you're back.
Okay, okay. I don't know what all you heard. Um, I after I found the right group, then
Mhm,
I started watching a couple of the podcasts and everything,
mhm,
and I thought, okay, this sounds like it's right up my alley
mhm.
because I have known at least since I was probably 20 years old that I was emotional eater.
Right.
And in fact, I told my mother at that time, I said, I don't know what it is, but there's something. It's not that I want to be overweight. It's not just that I want to eat. There's something emotional about this, and I don't know what to do about it.
Mhm,
you know and so I knew I was I have been on many diets, gone to several different counselors that said, well, I'm not a eating disorder counselor, but here's this diet. How many hundreds of pounds have I gained and lost and regained?
Right.
So, that's where I was, just a mess.
Yeah. Well, and I remember we talked about that on our first call. I remember that you had told me that you'd known for most of your life that this was an issue, but you just didn't know, you just didn't know what the answer was.
Well,
It sounds
I
like
knew the youngest I knew I had an issue with food was at the age of 5. But it took, I guess, getting through my teenage years and all that before I started realizing that it wasn't just that I was a pig. It wasn't just that I wanted to eat, that there was something emotional that was causing the
right.
issue.
Right. Yeah. Thank
So,
you. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Joyce, what about you?
Well, I found the website, the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Facebook page in December, and I've probably just falling down the rabbit hole on Facebook like I normally do, and I thought, well, that sounds interesting, and in reading some of the posts and listening to some of the podcasts, I came to the realization that I was an emotional eater. And that I have been for most of my life. I've tried every single diet I've been on. All I could think about when I was on it was, when is this going to be over? And I've had gastric bypass, and none of those things ever addressed the emotional eating or the mental aspect of addressing the problem. So in December 29th, I was part of a 3-day challenge, and I've been on the program ever since. This is day 93.
I love it. You always write that on your sheet. You have the date count. I would love that. And how many days has it been that you haven't snacked? Has it been 93? It's been 93, hasn't it?
That would be 93. Yeah. I don't know. I just made the commitment to myself that I felt like this was the last chance for me to do something about this, and I was going to do it, commit to it 100%. And that's what I've done.
Yeah, you have. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, Miss Kim.
So I worked with Kristen, and then she started being a coach, and she was my coach, but it was at a time in my life. I haven't been an emotional eater all my life, but I became that way in divorce times and stress times. And so Kristen said, do you want to join this boot camp? And like Joyce, 93 days later, I'm on the same plan. But the interesting piece to me about this whole process is how much insight you gain into the fact that if you commit to something and you take care of yourself, that it was easier than I thought it was going to be. Doesn't mean you don't have ups and downs, but this group has kind of, they've been there when you hit the downs to say, okay, you got this, today's a new day, and those kind of things. So I think that what I came to realize in this group is that, and being a part of this group, is that it's all about the community. And for me, that's what's been really exciting. So that's how I got here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kim and I worked together. I think we only worked together 1 year. It was only 1 year because then she left the country. But yeah, we've been bonded ever since. So even though she's been halfway around the world most of the time that we've known each other. So, but yeah, she's amazing. So, as all my guests are. So now, next question: what would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned since you started working the program? So I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to start with you, Kim. What would you say is the most important lesson?
Okay, I got to show you. I'm going to give you a visual.
Water.
Water. I I hated water all my life. I drank Cokes, I drank anything besides water. And when Kristen told us that we had to drink half of our weight each day in ounces, I thought, this woman's up from another planet. There's no way I can get that in. And now I wake up in the morning craving water when I wake up. So I think that this whole boot camp thing that's made a transformation in me is just the whole idea that if you let your body have what it really needs, i.e., a meal plan, that you feed yourself well enough till satisfied and you drink the water in between, you don't need the snacks. You don't need all the other kinds of things. Now, as everybody in my group will tell you, I have a sweet thing and I'm still working on that. And now I'm back in Tennessee who has lovely Krispy Kreme donuts, which the guy yesterday decided because I smiled at him, he gave me an extra dozen. So,
Wow.
so we're still working on that. But I think just the water and the meal planning and giving up the snacks was great.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to stop flirting with people, Kim. That smile, that Southern drawl. All right, Debbie, what about you?
I think the most important thing that I've learned is that the thoughts cause the feelings, you know, on down the line to your results. And the thought that it never occurred to me that I can control my brain and I can tell my brain what to do, you know, and I don't have to give in to that side of me that wants to eat everything in sight. So, you know, to me, that just the thought that I'm in control, that was a real big aha moment.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Joyce, what about you?
I agree with Debbie. I think the lessons that you have taught us about the brain and that we can control our thoughts has been transformational. A lot of times I have been very guilty of negative self-talk, and to know now that I can make that stop has changed every part of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and we all, and again, the brain is programmed for that negative self-talk because it thinks it's protecting us. But we have to overcome, we can override that. We can change that, but it takes practice and it does take a commitment. I mean, that's the whole thing. It really does take a true commitment on your part to want to make that change. And that's, and that's incredibly significant. Absolutely. So now, what would each of you say have you seen personally as the biggest change in you, in yourself? What have you seen as the biggest change in you thus far as you're continuing on with your journey? What would you say is the biggest change that you've seen in yourself? So Joyce, I'm gonna start with you. What's been the biggest change that you've seen?
Again, stopping the negative talking. And another thing that I've done in the past is living in the past. That was, I can remember the very first post, or not a post, but a response to someone after starting the boot camp was, what if I can't do this? Because I've never been able to do it in the past. Why is this different?
Right.
So the past is in the past. It, like you say, those thoughts are not serving us well. So I make a very strong effort not to do that anymore. And I think that has been a big change for me.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That story doesn't work. And so I think the other piece that most people don't know, and I know I didn't know this, is that you get to change the story. Like you can create the story and the direction that you want your life to go in. And you give, we call it equal airtime. You give that equal airtime to that good story, and the other story doesn't get to have it anymore. It doesn't, the negative story doesn't get to be the main story. Now we get to choose the story that we want to have and that we want to move forward with. And it's much more future focused as opposed to ever looking at the past. So yeah, that's a great point. Kim, what about you?
So I think about when we first started doing the pages and posting to each other. I remember thinking that I don't know what I like about myself. Um, and when we had to write 3 things every day, you really have to think. Um, and Kristen would give us help at sometimes about ideas. But I think just that whole mindset, like Joyce was saying, just that whole mindset of changing the tone. I also think sitting with your feelings. And I say that to people all the time. I take your words and I say it all the time to people, but sitting with your feelings before you act, I think is really important, because then you can get out of that blaming somebody else, which gives you then the excuse to go eat or do whatever.
Right.
Because you can't blame anybody but yourself. If you sit with yourself, it's you and you sitting there. So I think those are the 2 big lessons that I learned, was just being calm and still within myself long enough to give myself time to get over the hump.
Yeah. And I will tell you all that Kim actually threw those words back at me the other night. She told me, I think you need to sit with your feelings. She's right. I do. And it was so nice to hear it from and it was very nice to hear it from somebody else, as a reminder, as my mother gave me some of my own advice back last night as well. So it definitely always comes full circle. So, and we all need to hear it. I mean, I absolutely need to be reminded of these things, just to remember, like, this is really important, and I need to remember how vital this is, and to use the things that I'm sharing with others. I need to remember them myself as well. Okay, so now would love to hear where you are now and where you plan on seeing yourself in 6 months from now. So if you both don't mind sharing, how much we don't usually, it's really interesting, because one of the things that and these two will back me up on this. On our coaching calls, we usually don't talk about weight loss, and we don't usually talk numbers about like how many pounds, and it's more the other stuff we talk about. But these two have just like rocked it. So I do want them to, I want to brag about them a little bit. So Joyce, would you share kind of where you are with your weight right now, and then where you see yourself in 6 months?
I've lost 23 pounds. I've had some plateaus along the way, and I just waited them out.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Would you mind sharing the latest plateau of what happened in the last week or so?
I was at 160 for 2 weeks. But honestly, if I had stayed there, so be it. I was okay. And then in 3 days, I lost 5 pounds. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. So I'm at 155. Honestly, I don't see me losing a whole lot more. I'm 5'8" and 74 years old. So if I get down to 150, I'll just be ecstatic, but I'll have to buy new clothes probably. But I said from the very beginning, the weight loss to me was not the biggest part of this work. The biggest thing to me was not feeling like I was controlled by constantly eating.
Right.
Using food for comfort or distraction it was just like a ball and chain around my ankle. And to have that part of my life more in control has just been the best thing ever.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Well, and I was reminded, Joyce and I were talking last night, and I was reminded her, I said, do you remember when we first talked, you were like, if I lose 15 pounds, I'll be good. It won't even matter. I'll be good. And then, and so for those of you listening, what Joyce experienced is actually a pretty common phenomenon. but most people don't have the patience to wait out the plateau. And what we call it the whoosh effect. And basically what it is that when people they hit a plateau, and your body is still adjusting to everything that's happening. Your body is adjusting to the different weight, and a lot of times it takes, and it'll kind of settle in. And so Joyce just continued to do what she needed to do, continue to stick with things. And then what basically your body does is it gets adjusted, and then it just all of a sudden just releases weight. And that's what happened. And again, it's the whoosh effect, and it's just that your body will just let that weight go. But most people don't have the patience. But Joyce said she's the most patient woman in the world. So she said that's why she waited it out, and good things came from it. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Kim, what about you?
So I started at 161 pounds and I'm down to 142.5. So that was pretty exciting.
Yay.
And like Joyce, I hit different plateaus at different times. But I guess where I see myself going, I would dearly love to get down to about 130, 135. Kristen says you don't say a number, you say a range.
That's right.
So my range is, I'd be happy with 130 to 140 in that range. So I'm close. But the other thing is I think that this was a lifestyle shift. So I can see, like Joyce, being perfectly happy with anywhere in here, as long as that I'm not gorging and I'm still eating to satisfied, and I feel good about myself. I can exercise, I can go to the beach, I can even expose my stomach on the beach, which was really fun.
That is exciting.
So but it is that kind of thing of, it's a lifestyle change. So it's been great to see, post boot camp, because I'm not doing it religiously every day, because I'm back home in the midst of things, but it sticks with you. It's like it just stays with you. You think about your meal plan, you think about your water, you think about all those kind of things, and that's the best gift that could have been given, because it's healthier.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So Debbie, thanks for coming back. It's so good to see you. And oh no, we don't have volume. Hold on. Oh yeah, you're muted. So you can unmute yourself. Lower left-hand corner for Zoom. Oh, that's camera.
It's close.
It's all good. It's all good. Y'all know, if you were on the class on Friday, Monday, it's a technology, not my friend sometimes. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So we'll let Debbie come back. So Debbie, you're still muted. Hold on. You find that. So I will ask the two of you, what would be your, oh, there you go. Debbie, you there? I'll get back to you.
I'm here.
Okay. So Debbie, what we're doing is, where are you now in your story, in a sense, of like, how much weight have you lost? And then where do you see yourself in 6 months?
Okay. Lost about 28 pounds and I'm real happy about that. I can feel a difference, just in general all over. I would like to see myself under 250 pounds in 6 months, having a little bit more energy and being able to go shop thrift stores like I like to do, and get around a little better. Get back to some crafting and things that I haven't had energy for. So that's the main thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. And actually, Debbie, I'm going to ask you, because we did not plan this, but I'm going to ask you, would you mind sharing, you told a story earlier about something your daughter noticed about when you went out to dinner the other night?
Oh,
Would you? I think I think it's so cool.
Thanks. My daughter called me Friday night and said, "Hey, we decided we want to go out to dinner. You want to go?" Well, of course, sure. So we ended up at Chili's, and they were doing the 2 for $25 and the 3 for $10 and all that stuff. So we had appetizers and entrees and dessert and all that stuff coming. So we got done eating, and my daughter said, "You were really restraining yourself. I noticed you were really restraining yourself." She said, "You had a few chips and salsa And then you ate, part of your dinner, and then you ate a couple of bites of dessert. And she said, I think I ate a whole basket of chips by myself. She said, so I really admire your restraint, that you were kind of spacing things out and not, not going after because usually chips and salsa, and especially if we have queso or guacamole, that's like a big thing. And everybody just pigs out, and usually we're pretty full before we ever get our dinners.
Right.
And I said, I felt like I was doing really, really well until I had about 3 spoonfuls of dessert. And then I think I went about 2 spoonfuls too far because I was full. I wasn't stuffed, but I was full. But it really made me feel good that she noticed that I wasn't, everybody else was going crazy with the chips and everything. And I would take one, and then we'd sit and visit for a while, and then I'd take another one, and I maybe had, I don't know, 4 or 5 chips. And that was with 2 basketfuls of refills and all of that. So, that was pretty neat.
Yeah, and I thought that was so neat when you shared that earlier, that she noticed, but and that also that she shared it with you, that she was really, really proud of you for the changes that she's seeing.
She's very supportive.
Yeah.
And she told me when I told her I think I'd lost a pound and 1.6 or something last week, and she had texted me back and said that she was really, really proud of me for taking better care of myself and trying to get healthier. So she's a very supportive daughter. She's wonderful.
That is awesome. That's so good. So I'm going to ask each of you just to give, if there's one piece of advice or strategy or a tip that you could give the listeners, what would it be? Just one thing that you could give people who are listening, if they're feeling like they're not happy where they are, they're just, if they are feeling where you all were in the beginning, what's one piece of advice that you could give them? Joyce, I'm going to start with you.
Well, for me, it's just all about committing to the program. And make that promise to the most important person in your life, which is yourself. And that was on the very first day I started the program. I said, I'm going to give this 100%. And I haven't wavered since.
Yeah. Joyce is my poster child. Joyce, what's your mantra? It's not about
the food.
There you go. Joyce came up with that one. It's not about the food. All right. Kim, what about you?
I would say to be kind to yourself if you do slip, because I think that when we get into that pattern, like Joyce says, you can really commit and you can really try to stick with it. But even if there's a day when it doesn't happen, just be kind enough to yourself and know that tomorrow starts over. And this way of being, taking care of yourself, nurturing yourself, having gratitude, all those things is such a life-changing thing that I think just being kind to yourself is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. And Debbie, what about you?
One of the things that kind of I struggled with at the beginning of the program was having been through all the diets and all the, gastric bypass surgery and all, regaining weight every single time, plus those feelings and those thoughts just come back. And you think, you in the back of your mind, that little voice that plays that says, you lost before, what makes you think you're going to do it now? One of the things that I tell myself every time I get one of those negative thoughts, which thank goodness seems to be less as I go through this program, is that I never had the tools before. Now I'm learning how to deal with those emotions effectively and how to get rid of those negative thoughts and what I can counter them with. And that to me is all the difference. I failed before because I didn't have the mental and the emotional help and the mental and emotional tools and strategies to learn to get to the success.
Mhm.
So when I feel a little bit down or a little bit of doubt creep in, that's one thing I try to remember is that now I'm learning how to cope with this the right way,
Mhm.
and that it's progress, it's not perfection, that we're going to keep on going, keep getting better, that nobody's perfect, we're all human.
Yeah.
So
That's a mic drop right there. Like we just might as well like just end it right there. That was awesome. Debbie, thank you so much.
thanks.
That was beautiful. Thank you. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. Ladies, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate. One, I have so enjoyed and just cherished working with all three of you and with everyone who's in the boot camp and everyone in the membership as well. But thank you so much for taking the time to do this and share with everyone what your path has been. And it just, I don't even want to say I wish you good luck, because it's not luck. It's just I know that what you have taken in and what you've learned and Debbie, you said it so well. It's like now it I think everyone would do this if they had the tools, if they knew what was, and it's just
Mhm.
one of those things where it's like, you know, give a man a fish he can eat for a day, teach him how to fish and he can eat for a week. And it's the same principle of just
Mhm.
taking those tools and then applying them and using them. And I think, Kim, you said it, it's surprising. Sometimes it's surprising how, like, oh, this isn't that it's challenging. I mean, there are definitely times that are challenging, but it's like overall it's like, it's really not that. It's something that is definitely workable, and it's definitely doable. And I just can't tell you how much this, just like, my heart is so full right now. I'm so blessed and honored to have each of you in my life, and everyone in the group, and everyone in the larger group. It's just it's so amazing. So thank you so much for, again, taking the time to come and share. And I know that you have given so much wisdom and so much direction to the people who are listening. So thank you so much for doing that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I know everyone out there appreciates it too. So that is the podcast. And I'm just like, this is like feel good. This is group hug. If we were all in person, yeah, we'd be giving hugs, but sorry,
Yeah.
can't be. It's all virtual. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us this week. And we'll be back next week with another podcast. And again, appreciate all of you joining. If you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook, please come and join us. Again, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. And again, can't wait to see you, can't wait to meet you, and get you started on this path to just feeling really good about yourself. So thank you again, everyone on the podcast. Ladies, don't go anywhere. I will be chatting with you as well. So we're gonna jump into the group as well. So if anybody has any questions in the group and you want to ask any of the ladies any questions, please go ahead and post them. And all right, so everybody in podcast land, thank you so much for being here, and we will check y'all out later. Take care, y'all. Bye.